So, Chase, you've been speaking with Armin. Maybe you were, no, I don't know where you were hanging out, but you guys were having a chat. He was telling you all about his long history with CrossFit and how he's been involved with CrossFit a lot longer than you, and he was just kind of reminding you of that. So how would you segue that into your topic?
Yes, so Armin is an OG of CrossFit, and I basically missed his entire era in CrossFit. So he's like from the time where there was Ben Smith's dad, there was a Naked CrossFitter, which was him. There was, Rich Froning was the CrossFit god, and Annie Thorisdottir was the most amazing female CrossFitter we had ever seen. I came in after all that, so I'm like the new school Matt. Matt Fraser is the Lord of CrossFit. Katrin Davis-Daughter, Tia Claire Toomey are just as fit, if not fitter, than Annie Thorisdottir. And I just have to remind him of that. The difference is, how at that point in time when you jumped in, Graham Holberg was like one of the fittest. Well, now that standard is like Pat Bellner or Brent Bukowski or CrossFit Games athletes. I was like, that's how I am to you. So you're the Graham Holberg, and I'm the Patrick Bellner, equally as pale.
Now, I love it. Probably anyone listening has no idea what we're talking about. So let's get on with the show, and we'll find out more.
Yeah, do it.
Well, he's got a new guest, time to put him to the test. So what's the topic? We don't know, cause he never does research for this show. His name is Jason, he wants to talk to you about a topic you love or something you do. No two topics are ever the same. That might sound impressive, but they're all pretty lame. A conversation with
Hello, you're listening to A Conversation With. My name is Jason, and each week I'm joined by a guest, and we have a conversation on a topic of their choice. And this is almost a part 2 from last week's episode when we were talking about CrossFit. So we're going to keep talking about CrossFit, but we're going to be talking a little bit more about the competition side of things. Our guest today is Chase Long. He is the 2018 South Regional Athlete on Team Yakaru. Hello, Chase.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I'm not going to lie, it's late, I'm tired, but I'm ready.
So just by talking to Armin, you've already caught the CrossFit disease to where now you can't talk about anything other than CrossFit. Is that what's going on?
It seems to be what's going on. I'm pretty sure I can't. It was literally the other day I spoke to Armin. I already can't remember anything we said, but I'm pretty sure that I said to him either on pod or off pod that as much as I love CrossFit, I kind of hate a lot of the things about CrossFitters.
Yes.
And
so we're the worst people.
And
and anybody else that fits that mold. People that drink IPAs, that we all are in that same bucket of just terrible.
Yeah. So I was telling him I've got an Instagram that's my Instagram for people that know me, and they can follow that. And then I have the one that's just for CrossFit because I didn't want to annoy everyone I know by just posting CrossFit things every day. So I'm like, well, if you care about that, here it is. If you don't want to know, there you go.
I never tried to do that. I tried to only post personal stuff on my Instagram, fashion, where I'm traveling to. And eventually it was I don't care about posting about CrossFit because all my friends are CrossFitters, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
If you don't go to a gym, you don't make other friends. So
that's true. But I think I started quite late, so I already had all the other friends in place. That's exactly the problem. And I'm the weird one who goes off and does this strange thing somewhere that they kind of know about, but they sort of leave it there. Care. But if they listen to this,
and they don't care.
Very much they don't care. So, Chase, we said, start again. Chase, hi. So we mentioned in your intro that you're a 2018 South Regional Athlete, but then we also said part of a team. So it might be that some people who kind of have an idea of what CrossFit is, maybe they've seen something on Netflix, one of the documentaries that they put out there, have never heard of the team side of the competition?
That is 100% correct.
And maybe some people who claim to be real big CrossFitters and love CrossFit and follow everything have never heard of the team side of the competition.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be able to blame you or fault you for not knowing what the team competition is. It's maybe one of the worst promoted and pushed aspects of the CrossFit Games, of the CrossFit community, which is really funny because it's really the only reason that there was CrossFit Regionals, which is the qualifying round for the CrossFit Games. Basically, they market it as the affiliate cup. So if you go to a CrossFit gym, you're going to a CrossFit affiliate, which is like, think of it as like a church of the religion of CrossFit. And you go to these places and you create a community, and then they compete for the affiliate cup to be the best CrossFit gym, CrossFit church in the world type of deal. And that's what's going on at the CrossFit Game. And I didn't make it to the games, but we made it to regionals, which is still a really big deal. It means you're one of the top 15, top 20 in your region. I compete out of Texas, so it's the South region, which is pretty much written off as maybe the weakest region in the world.
Yeah. So to make it easier for you, they sent you to somewhere with a very high altitude. That meant you
first.
Sorry?
They make us go first in the circuit as well. So the South region was the first weekend of regionals, and it's normally spread out across 3 or 4 weekends. So we go first, and we're in Salt Lake City, which is, 8,000 feet or so higher than where we're at in Texas. It's not fun if you're not used to that type of oxygen or altitude or what have you.
So you were mentioning that you're part of a team. How many people are on a team? I'm going to be honest with you. I know the answer to these questions, but I'm going to ask them anyway. How many people are on a team, Chase?
Yeah, no worries.
11? 20?
It's completely fair if you didn't know either. But teams that compete at CrossFit are made out of four individuals, and it's 2 males, 2 females. And they can be anybody as long as they compete, and as long as they train at the same affiliate. At least that used to be the rule. The rule's different now, but we'll talk all and before the changes that nobody knows about.
Armin knows about them. Armin knows everything, so we've spoken to him, so it must be true.
Yes.
No, we won't talk about the changes, but I will ask, do you think the changes will make the team competition get a little bit more of the spotlight now?
I think it'll definitely be more entertaining to watch for people like me and you and Armin that aren't participating at the games. Well, most likely not.
Yeah. Don't write yourself off like that.
I think there's going to be a lot fewer teams competing. I think there will probably only be 16 to 20, if I had to guess. So I think it will be more entertaining because now we can just focus on the cream of the crop. Plus, we're going to have super teams.
Yeah.
So let's say Rich Froning wants to recruit Josh Bridges to join his team. I don't know why you do that, but then they decide that they want to pull in Cara Saunders, what have you. People that are on the completely other side of the country, on the other side of the world, can now compete under the same team and just wreck shop.
Yeah, I wonder how soon you have to submit your team, if that makes sense, because with the way that it works now that you're not all qualifying on the same date. Like before it was the open, so it was just okay, at this point, either you're on a team or you're not. But now you could keep trying as an individual kind of through the season.
Yeah.
Is it going to be too late to be actually, I'll be on a team? So
that's the thing. I don't think it will be. I think if you want, you can go to Dubai, you can go to Wadapalooza, you can go to Granite Games, not make it as an individual and then be like, hey, I got some of my fit friends together and now we're going to the games because we won this competition in Ohio.
Yeah, interesting times ahead. But we'll go back to the past. So let's talk about your experience with regionals and being on a team. So you're 4 people on a team.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the obvious questions that most people probably ask, because I think, first of all, there are probably people listening to this that are going, I don't really get how you even have CrossFit games. I understand how football works. I understand how tennis is a sport, but how do you turn CrossFit into a sport? What are you doing? I imagine that's kind of one of the immediate questions.
Yeah, it's you're literally doing what real sports do to get in shape, to play football, to play basketball, to ride bikes. You're doing all the stuff that they do to prepare for that, but now you're just competing to be the best at doing those exercises. It's really ridiculous if you think about it. It's like, it's the worst part of like LeBron James's training regimen. It's like, on the bike, on the rower, it's doing squats. And now you're just trying to do only that and now compete against people that are doing only that. It's really something. So basically what you have to do is like create workouts that are either accomplished in a time domain. So say we're trying to do X amount of movements as fast as possible, or you're trying to do a max lift against some people. So total load lifted, or you're doing like rounds of a certain workout and completing that for time. So that's what you have to do. You have to basically create events, and then you compete and see how you stack up.
What do you prefer personally? Do you like going for like a heavy lift, or you prefer kind of as many rounds as possible, or you prefer a kind of almost sprint of multiple things, but there's a finish line? What's your kind of preferred?
Yeah, so it's weird how it's changed over my trajectory as an athlete in CrossFit. So when I first started, my background was as a college wrestler, so I had just crazy endurance. But I also had like the mobility of a lead pipe, just because of like how many times I've like beaten up my body. So I really preferred just like grunt work. So things that were good for me were chippers, and chippers are a type of workout where you basically have a set amount of reps of a whole bunch of different movements, and you move through those. You basically say you have to do 20 squats, and then you have to do 20 pull-ups, and then you have to do 20 box jumps. And then once you do all that, you're done. That was my jam, just working through, checking stuff off the list, because I didn't really have to take rest between movements like a lot of people. But now, since joining CrossFit Hikaru here and working under their program, I've really transitioned to somebody that really likes couplets. And couplets are where there's basically two movements, and you have, say, a set amount of reps at each one, and you do 3 or 4 rounds. And they're very fast, super quick, and intense workouts. That's more my jam. I don't know why that is. It's just maybe I figured out how to sprint better than I can do endurance work now.
Yeah. Is there, okay, I'm going to ask, I was going to save this question for later, but I'm going to ask, what's your least favorite movement in CrossFit?
Without a doubt, handstand push-ups.
Oh,
Strict
really?
handstand push-ups. I hate them.
But you love doing handstands.
Oh, yeah. I'll handstand walk all day.
Yeah, even in places where you shouldn't, like famous parts of Italy.
The name of that place, Altair. I don't know if I'll get in trouble if I mention it, but yeah, you got to. It's like I wanted to ask them for permission if I could handstand walk next to these statues, but I knew they'd say no, so I just went for it. And they're pretty kind about saying no afterwards, but they definitely didn't like it.
Yeah. I did enjoy it. I heard your reasoning that I don't understand why I can't walk on my hands. People walk on their feet all the time.
Like, if anything, I'm doing less damage to your property. My hands are soft. My shoes, they're going to scuff up everything.
Yeah. So you should just walk around the house always on your hands. So really, I'm surprised that handstand push-ups were your least favorite.
Yeah, that's actually the root of that, I would say, goes back to wrestling as well. I wrestled from the time I was 5 until I was 22. Right. And that's a long time to do anything. And basically what had happened in wrestling, you're getting your head and your neck pulled on a whole lot. And at a certain point in my college career, I just developed a herniated disc in my C6 and C7. And it luckily happened during a season where I wasn't competing. And I just woke up one morning and couldn't even do I was on my stomach and I couldn't push myself off my stomach with my right arm because my tricep had just completely shut down. And it took some time to figure out what was wrong. So during that time, my tricep just really atrophied, and it took a lot of rehab and work with a chiropractor to get my herniated disc, my bulging disc, down to the point where it would let off that nerve and let my tricep start, firing and contracting again. So I really put it at the root cause of that. Like, I have terrible overhead position because my thoracic's all messed up. And then my triceps are just kind of fatigued anyways, underdeveloped.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, there's not that many overhead movements in CrossFit. So you've only got overhead squats and handstand push-ups, thrusters and snatch. Oh, is that because I've heard often, when you're discussing with people about the snatch being kind of another one of the things that you sort of struggle to put a lot of weight on. So is that always going back to this same issue?
It's the same issue, just terrible positioning and ability to get my arms overhead. Like this, we're on video, but if you could see on this audio format podcast, I'm putting my arms above my head and it's very limited.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I suppose what we've got to say is, I mean, Armin, if you're listening, because your friend Chase is on, he went to regionals and he can't even put his arms above his head. So what's your excuse?
Oh, man.
He's never coming back on.
Nothing matters.
Sorry?
Nothing matters, No. And it's Armin doesn't assign value to making it to regionals or to fitness. He's all about Hearthstone and podcast.
Which is convenient for me because it meant that he was willing to come on to this podcast. So.
Yeah.
So going back to your team activities, that sort of very quickly got away from. So how does it work then as a team? Because obviously as an individual athlete, like you mentioned, like a chipper. So you've got like 20, 20, 20. It's obvious that you've got to just start from A, do all of A, then all of B, then it's done. How do you do that when you're 4 people?
Yeah, it's a little more convoluted for sure. The biggest thing that we see them use whenever they're making workouts for teams is they'll have you in either pairs or as a whole team doing a movement in synchronization. So say that movement's pull-ups. Well, now all of our heads have to go to the bar at the same time, and we all have to be at the bottom of the pull-up at the same time. Same way of another movement in CrossFit called chest to bars. Your chest has to hit the bar at the same time. And then the other way that they'll have pairs where 2 people are working. 2 athletes from the team are working doing, say, box jumps, while the other 2 members of the team are holding a position or they're working on something else. They may be rowing, they may be running, type of deal. And then they switch. So the athletes that were doing the box jumps are now doing the running, and they do that for X amount of rounds, say 5 or 6 rounds. And the other really cool thing that sucks a whole lot is this little thing that they like to call the worm. And it's, I think it's over 800 pounds. And it requires all the team to pick it up. And then they have you do movements with this gigantic sandbag worm thing. It's exactly how it sounds. It's just a big sandbag that looks like a worm, misshapen and awful, and it rips your ears off. I have bad memory.
You see, this is why I don't understand why people don't enjoy watching the team events, because I feel personally there's nothing more fun than when you see like, you're saying like all of your heads have to go above the bar at the same time. And it's great when you see 3 of you are there and you're all looking at that last one and they're like, oh, hold on. And that whole time that you're kind of under tension, holding yourself above the bar or waiting for the last person just to get their head over the bar. Or when one person bails on the worm.
That's super fun and ideal. That's exactly what you want as a team competing. Yeah, man, that is the biggest thing about team competition is you no longer get to work out at your pace. Whenever you're working out and you decide you want to take a break, you can take a break because there's just a little voice in your head that's telling you that you shouldn't stop, but there's nothing that's physically stopping you from stopping. But in a team competition, you have 3 other people and it's going to mess up your whole game plan. So that's a big component of the team competition. But back to your point about why nobody wants to pay attention to it and nobody sees the entertainment value, it really comes down to there's just too much going on. There's about 20 teams at each regional, and each one of those teams has 4 team members. It's just a lot of bodies out there, and it's really hard to keep track of what's going on. And then there's not as much star power. There hasn't really been given the media to it to really develop, people that anyone wants to follow. There's no stars other than Team Mayhem.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking back to like your previous comments at the very beginning when you're like, oh, like Rich Froning, who's that? And then you're like, there's no star power on the teams. There's no names in the teams. Armin might disagree, but
he is really it. I thought this year at the games it was a lot more interesting. You had a team with Sam Dancer and his wife, and then you also had Travis Williams and whatever team Don't Stop that they put together. People that are listening have no idea what that means, but these were athletes that used to be individuals are now competing on teams because it's a little bit easier to make it to the games as a team.
Yeah, I think there was even a number of people that turned down their invitation as individuals, wasn't there? That that they could have gone as individuals and they're like, nah, I'm gonna go team. Which, I've not been following it that closely for that long, but I feel like this is the first time you saw that happening a lot. Like not one or two people, but a good number of people.
This was the first year, and that I really recall it happening in recent memory, and I think that has to go down to the women's division and the men's division are really locked up. I mean, we have Tia Claire Toomey, who doesn't look like she's going to lose anytime soon, and then we have Matt Fraser, who's essentially unbeatable.
Yeah,
like there's no holes in his game plan.
Yeah, so get on his team and maybe you'll win. But then you've got to go up against Rich, so it's even there.
I'll say the reasons that I decided to go team and not try to pursue CrossFit as an individual, because I'd never really considered the team route until I went to CrossFit Yukaru here in Austin, Texas. And I was pretty set since the point I started CrossFit that I was going to go to regionals as an individual athlete. I thought it was possible. And I was training in a gym out of West Virginia that didn't have any regional athletes, but you see it on TV and you've heard like other people nearby that went to regionals and you're like, I think I could go as an individual. But then whenever you're in a gym like Yukaru where there's actual individual regional athletes and you see how you stack up to them on any given workout, it's like, oh, that thing that I thought that was within grasp is years and years down the road, maybe never. So I saw the opportunity to do it as a team. And then as I got exposed more to team workouts, I found it a lot more fun than just working out on my own. I mean, there's this whole communication thing. There's camaraderie. There's just like you create this pack that now you can like look somebody in the eyes that you work out with and know exactly how many reps they have left. You know how like tired they're feeling. If they're redlining during a workout, you can just look at them and be able to tell. And it's really cool. I mean, you don't get that in individual comp.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I really hate the partner workouts whenever they put them up. There are people that like cherry pick their workouts. So they look at, they go online in the morning. And they're like, oh, what's the workout of the day? Ooh, thrusters. My shoulder hurts. It's like that kind of, for me.
I got to go to the dentist.
Yeah. For me, I don't really care what the movement is because at the end of the day, they're all pretty terrible. So it's fine. But when it's a partner workout, that's when I really have to push myself to go. Yeah. I find you're either the weak link and you feel bad, or they're the weak link and
you're frustrated.
Yeah, it's sort of, and it's as you said, like you can't just. I get it for a competition, it's one thing, but if you're just doing it for the exercise side of it, I find it's when you're working with someone else that you are more likely to make a bad decision and go, oh yeah, I can do this unbroken. You can't. You put the weight down, take a break. But you're like,
I was going to say before coming to the gym I'm at now, I wasn't a big fan of partner workouts either, because it was always the situation where I was like having to wait around for my partner, or feel like I'm dragging them through the workout, and that's like no fun because like I don't get that much out of it. Been yelling at this person.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's obviously pushed you into actually getting onto a team and doing something that you said as an individual seemed kind of in the end out of your grasp.
Out of reach for sure. It's different competing with people whenever it's multiple events. So that whole aspect where you're saying it feels like I might have let them down or held them back. That's going to happen, no matter how many workouts you do with a team or how fit you are. There's going to be some workouts that aren't your wheelhouse that are your teammates' wheelhouse. And that's what you have to like keep in mind is that, I slowed us down on this one, but I know I gave my best effort, and I know that the next workout is something I can crush it at. So you crush it on the next workout and maybe they're holding you back. But the whole thing is like, what is it? What's the phrase? Like a rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
So if we're all like striving to be the best version or really kill it, it's just going to pull everybody up. For example, today me and my teammate Sarah, who was also on the regional team with me, we're doing CrossFit Team Series, which is like an offspring of the CrossFit Games, where basically you pick a teammate and it's just teams of 2, and you can be male, male, female, female, or a mixed pair, male and female. And they release 4 workouts a week over the course of 2 weeks, and you compete and submit all of your scores online. And then you see how you stack up in the world with everybody. And there's prizes if you're, first through 10th, I think. There's cash prizes. But anyways, me and Sarah were doing this workout, and it was double unders and overhead walking lunges. And we mentioned before how I'm not the best at overhead movements. And double unders really aren't like something I'm super great at. Like I can do them, but I have terrible form. So it really, I really get out of breath doing them. And she killed it. And I just basically had to survive and hold on and not drown the team. And I realized that I'm the reason that we're slowing us down. But I also realized that if I'm the reason that we're going slow, we're still moving really fast. Oh. Like we're not doing terrible if I'm the reason that we're slow. And we actually had one of the better times, I think. We'll see how it stacks up, but it's just like knowing those types of things. And I know that on the burpee workout that we have to do tomorrow, she's going to be the reason that we're moving slow. No offense, Sarah, if you hear this, but you know this too.
Yeah. And she's listening to this in the future anyway, so she knows that, it really happened. She can't even deny it. Burpees. There's another classic movement. You don't mind them? They're all right?
They're fine. I would prefer not to ever do them, but I can do them, thankfully, because I'm a wrestler, and that's basically all we did anyways.
Yeah. I saw someone post up a picture on Instagram the other day, and he'd done 100 burpees unbroken with like a calorie count thing, just on to see how many calories. And he burnt 98 calories.
98?
Yeah, and I told him,
right.
I said, that's not even a calorie a burpee. Just don't do them anymore.
Yeah, that's dumb. They're not going to help you lose weight. Why do them?
Yeah. So, all right, okay. Where were we? We've done the team. I wanted to ask about just generally being a CrossFit athlete. What's kind of a day look like for you? Because obviously CrossFit is not like being NFL athlete or an NBA athlete. You're not making the big bucks. So you've got to work at the same time.
Not at all. So
you're losing money, actually.
I'll take you through 2 different versions of my day. I'll take you through an off-season version, which is basically like right now. And then I'll take you through, when we're actually training for an event. And it's different from professional sports because, yes, there's no money in this unless you're the best of the best. Everybody else is just an amateur. Even the people going to the games, for the most part, are amateur. There's no professional, really. So a lot of it comes down to coordinating what time you're going to be doing your workout and then building your day around that. So for me, I work a 9 to 5. I don't coach at a gym like a lot of my teammates do. So what I have to do is I get up, make sure I get all of my nutritional supplements in. I have to do a lot of stuff to like maintain just general health, because when you're training at the volume and intensity that we train at, your body will just start breaking down unless you're putting the right things in. So I do that, prep my meals for lunch and dinner, make sure they're all fitting my macros. So I have to work with the nutritionist to make sure I'm hitting the right amount of food to keep my size and not get really thin or not get really fat. Go to work, make sure I'm doing all the food stuff there, time out my pre-workout stuff that I have to take. I don't really take caffeine or anything, but I do BCAAs, I do creatine. Then I go to the gym around 6 o'clock, but I get there at 5 to warm up. So a lot of it's like warming up and mobilizing and making sure my joints and my arms and my legs move the right way. And then I'm just working out for the next 2 hours. So that puts me being done around 8 o'clock. And then I do my post-workout stuff. So there's a shake, there's aminos, and then I bust it home because it's 8 o'clock and I have to be up the next day at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. to go to work again. So I busted home, have dinner, get a shower, do some ROMWOD, and then I try to be in bed between 10:30 and 11. And that's like bare minimum sleep. That means I'm getting like 6.5 at best, because you may be in bed at 11, but you're not really asleep until an hour from that, really. So that's a typical day.
So that's
but whenever
off season.
That's off season. When we were preparing for regionals or preparing for an event, it's very much, trying to maximize as much sleep as you can get. So try to sleep in a little bit longer. So I'll try to get to work between 9:30 and 9 o'clock instead of being here at 9, which means I get to sleep in for an extra 45 to an hour. Get to work, try to plug as much stuff in and get it ready to go. And then I leave during the middle of the day to go work out during my lunch break. So it's a really quick session of accessory work or just a Metcon, working on gymnastics, working on strength type of stuff. Do all of my post-workout stuff, come back to work, still pretty sweaty, just put a t-shirt on and a different pair of pants, work until about 4:30, 5 o'clock, clock out, then go back to the gym, eat a meal, mobilize, stretch, do any rehab type of stuff, then work out with the team. And team sessions go on for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it's just real intense stuff because we're trying to make the most of our time together as a team. So that's when we're doing the majority of our stuff. And then it's go home. You have to do ROMWOD during that point, because if you're not stretching and doing the rehab stuff, like, you're not going to last more than a week. And then, trying to get some actual sound sleep. So you're taking some melatonin, you're taking some ZMA, anything to just help you recover during your sleep. And then you get up and you do it all over again. Really, you only have like 1 or 2 rest days. Generally, mine's Thursday and Sunday. But, sometimes during season, we only take Sunday off, just depending on how our bodies feel. It's a lot of monitoring how your body feels. I use this Whoop strap to keep track of my HRV, and that just kind of gives me a general readiness score of, how recovered my body is and ready to take on strain. If it's really low, like consistently over a couple days, I know I need to take a day off.
Yeah. So it's tough to do it working full time, right? I mean, that's you're trying to, because as you said, you're not already in the gym. If you're coaching and then you're like, okay, I've got an hour, I don't actually need to travel anywhere. I'm already in the right place, so I can fit my workout in there. And I believe that in your previous job, when you were interviewing for it, you were told that you'd never make it to regionals and work in that job.
100% a conversation that happened.
Yeah.
So Armin, who you talked to last time, was part of the group that interviewed me for my last role. We worked together. And I told him, we were just having a one-on-one interview type of meeting. And I told him during that, I earnestly believe I can make it to regionals as an individual, or I can make it to regionals, period. And he pulls his best, like, I'm not telling you it can't happen face, but I think you're just completely outside your element and how hard you believe it is to make it to regionals. He just said, I think it would be really hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it'd be really hard to make it to regionals in this role.
So now, technically, he won that bet.
Yeah, it's complete garbage.
So when you were competing at regionals, were you working full time?
No.
What happened?
That was so the whole time leading up to regionals, I was working full time, and then we left about 2 weeks. We left a week early to get to Salt Lake City and get acclimated to the elevation. And it was, I was working the entire time that we were out there. And then the Monday before regionals happened, I got a call from my employer that was like, hey man, this isn't a good call, but doing a lot of layoffs, just scaling back. And, you and Armin are laid off. And I found this out before regionals, and that was literally one of the second things I thought of after I got that phone call. Wow, Armin won the bet.
Not how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to buy food? Oh no, just Armin was right. That's
that when the saltiness is real. I was just so salty that he somehow set it up to where he was still right.
Yeah. It's amazing that he was willing to give up his job as well just to win this bet, hey?
Yeah. That's how committed that man is to proving a point.
Brilliant. So, Chase, it's about now that I would pass over to you, and I usually ask my guests, and it's been good having 2 episodes in a row about CrossFit because I actually know stuff about it. So much better than the last couple of episodes where I didn't have a clue on the topics. So, Chase, any questions for me about your topic, which is kind of competing or teams, or we'll open up to CrossFit in general. Let's make it very, very broad.
Competing at CrossFit, something so dumb, only a few people. It's actually the first question that comes to mind is like, how did you end up getting into a CrossFit gym? Like, what inspired you to do it? Was it CrossFit Games Media, or was it just a friend of a friend told you to come?
So I did. So Armin asked me the same question last week. So you haven't heard that yet because that's still not gone up. But basically, I'll condense it. I went for the drop-in session with my wife on our wedding anniversary. Because I had sort of said that my gift to you is I'll sign you up for a year to any fitness program you want to do. Zumba, you can do that if you like. I hadn't said CrossFit. I just sort of said look online, see what's available where we live, and pick something, and that's it. We'll do it. And we'd found CrossFit Bath, so we went. So she sent an email, and they were saying, okay, you can have a drop-in session. She didn't want to go on her own. It's I don't want to go on my own. It's a bit intimidating. So
saw this one coming, man.
So we went together, and even when we went there, I was like, well, it's just for her. We'll do the drop-in together. But probably, yeah. Even because we'd seen that they had you have to do the intro class, and it was going to be impossible for the 2 of us to do that because in the evening my son's at home and one of us has to be with him. But we were able to kind of organize just doing it, the 2 of us together with one of the co-owners of the box. So we were able to kind of do our own intro course in the day when he was at school, and we managed to. So yeah, it was just easier to do it together. And
they're already winning you over by accommodating you.
I know, how dare they?
It's subtle.
Yeah, so that was a year and a half ago, and been doing it ever since.
What's your favorite workout? Out of the girls, I'm assuming CrossFit overseas is just like CrossFit here, where you have the girls and the benchmarks.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull them all up. I've got a page of them somewhere, but my favorite workout, because that's actually one of the things I find is that we rarely do just the benchmark workouts. They're always modified. So it's always heavy this or this plus. So it'll be Cindy plus Diane, or it's always something do you know what I mean? It's never just
it's never straight up Helen or something like that.
I quite like Diane because I do like handstand push-ups that you don't like. Probably for me, maybe Chelsea pull-ups, push-ups, and squats. That's again good for me because I can do a lot of pull-ups and a lot of push-ups without much problem. So you're noticing a theme is body weight. That's
that's a good one. I hate handstand push-ups, and I don't know if you participated in the Open, but Diane was in the Open this year.
I did,
and I when I saw it, I was like, I'm screwed. But it ended up being my favorite workout and the one I did the best on.
Yeah, I did. I did participate. It was my first Open, so I'd never done it before. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I'd kind of set the goal of I just want to RX every workout if I can get 1 rep. If I can do 1 rep, then I'll do it. And
that's a bold strategy.
Yeah. And it was tough for me because those weights were all even when it's kind of moderate weight for other people, for me that's heavy. So always using the 22.5 dumbbells for everything was just horrible. A max clean. So I'm having to clean my body weight or more after doing all those burpees and squats, wasn't it?
Yeah, burpees and squats.
And then couldn't get my legs under the bar because they were just jelly at that point. But I did it. I did everything. Not great, but more than 1 rep on every workout, so that was good.
Congrats.
How did you get on with the overhead squats? Because that was in one of the workouts as well.
That one, luckily for me, also had double unders in it.
Yeah.
So it was a scrap. That was my worst workout. I try not to remember it. It's one that Armin didn't have to do, luckily, and if Armin did do it, he would have beat me 100%. I have no doubt.
So convenient that you didn't get to do it. Okay.
So I'm going to just completely change subject real quick, but I just want to know, what are your thoughts on The Last Jedi? I see you have Rin in the background.
Yeah. My thoughts on The Last Jedi. I'm kind of indifferent. It's fine. I don't hate it. To be honest with you, what I do hate is J.J. Abrams' mystery boxes that he puts in anything. So I liked that all of those boxes were put on the table. You know, oh, who is Rey's parents? Oh, who is this? Oh, how's this going to happen? Who's Kylo? Who's Snow? And he just pushed them all off the table.
Yeah.
And I quite like that because I disagree very strongly with the whole philosophy behind the mystery box.
Okay, that's fair. You definitely have way better things to say about it than anybody else that I've ever asked about that movie. It's all negative. I don't get it. I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan, and it's like, I'm not mad that it exists. It's just more Star Wars stuff. So, of course, I'm going to watch it. It's entertaining, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, I think I went to the cinema to see it twice because I went... So, yeah, I actually went to the midnight screening, but I'd actually forgotten it was coming out.
That's incredible, because it was everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was coming out, it's coming out very soon. But I had to go into town to do a job, and I got home 10:30, maybe 11 o'clock, and I got into bed, and I was kind of still awake because I'd been working. God, let me just I pull out my tablet. I'm like, I'll just watch something to kind of unwind. And I went onto YouTube, and people were posting about, Last Jedi, advanced screenings or advanced review. And when's that out then? And then I realized, it's out tomorrow, so it's the midnight premieres tonight. Let me just see if the cinema, the local cinema, has any tickets. And I found a ticket, so I kind of woke my wife up and said, do you mind if I go to the cinema? And I had 15 minutes to drive back into literally where I had been before coming home and park in pretty much the same spot to then run into the cinema. And I watched it. And then my wife's brother came to visit, and he's living in Italy, so they don't really get to see films in English. So he came to visit, and it was again the same period of time. So I was like, do you want to go and see Star Wars? So I took him and my wife this time. So we saw it. So I saw it twice, which is probably the most I've ever seen a Star Wars movie in the cinema, because I'm not really into going multiple times.
Something work.
Yeah. I gotta work. I've got a family. If I get to go once, that's already incredible. So
yeah.
But it's okay. It's fine. I like Kylo Ren was on offer in a shop, and I put it in the shopping basket, and my wife's like, so is that for our son or for you? Like, I'm undecided at this point, but he's here, so I guess that answers the question.
Kylo Ren's a badass.
Okay. Anything else, or are we going to move on to questions without context?
Yeah. Let's. I got one more.
Okay.
Do you think you ever envision yourself doing a team CrossFit competition? Would you give it a shot if there was a local one nearby?
There have been a number of local ones. I guess I just at the moment don't feel. Even if it's everyone can do it, you can do a scaled version, or you can do this, and then I feel well, what's the point? If you're going to go and do a competition, I feel like you should be able to compete. And if I go there knowing that I'm just not, I started CrossFit when I was already 30, so I'm not in the prime of my athletic career, and I didn't really do any sport before that. So
That's fair.
I've always been healthy and fit and kind of looked after myself, but I've just not been a sport, really into sport guy. So I'd have to be a lot better at CrossFit to decide to actually do a competition. Otherwise, I'm just spending even more money to work out.
The thing about CrossFit, definitely not for those that don't have disposable income, unfortunately. All right, yeah, let's hop into these questions without context. I feel nimble enough that I could answer them.
Okay, good. So, let's pull things up because I opened that thing. Right. So, Phil Better Show asks, oh, this is quite apt, comics or novels?
Novels.
Yeah, okay. I'm starting you off with some easy ones because then they start to get a little bit more deep.
Great.
Motorcycles or cars?
Cars, hands down.
Take out or eat in?
Eat in.
Then he asks, should we colonize the moon?
That is out of left field. I'm all for it. Let's do it. Send Elon up there. Let's go ahead and mine that thing for all the resources we can. Yeah. That's what I'm in.
So going back to the question you asked me, I might do a CrossFit competition if it takes place on the moon because
where everything's weightless.
Exactly. You can just bar muscle ups for days. The thrusters, who cares? Easy.
Yeah.
This links also to another question you asked me. What's the best thing about movies?
I think the best thing about movies is it's the same thing that's the best thing about reading is it takes your mind off of your phone, off of your concerns, off of your work. You just be transported mentally from whatever's going on in your day-to-day life to some fictionalized place, carefree.
So do you feel then that influences the kind of movies you like?
Yeah, I think so. I don't like depressing movies for the.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. That when people tell me a film is really real, oh, it's so real. I'm like, okay, not for me then. If I want real, I'll look out the window. The world is bad enough. I don't need to watch other people suffering through it. Like that's why I'll take a Star Wars movie or a Marvel movie or something like that where I'm like, yeah, this is complete fantasy, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So linked to this, Dragnos podcast asks, what movie should I watch? So he's just looking for a recommendation.
Well, if you haven't seen it, I would say watch the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend it. It's super artistic, super entertaining, and just super, super duper violent as well. I dig it, and the soundtrack's awesome. So can't say enough good things about that movie.
Oh, you've just segued perfectly into the next question. So, talking of soundtracks, talking of music, because I know you also you're into your music, but I don't know what your answer to this question will be, because at Hangover Reviews asks, favorite Robbie Williams song.
Robbie Williams song? I don't know if I could name one. Let me look. 1 second. I'm turning to the internet.
What I'm going to do is in the edit, I'm going to cut it so your answer will just come immediately, as if you had it.
Didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. And then go, I didn't realize he was such a big fan.
I'm just a big fan of Feel by Robbie Williams.
Feel.
Like, if I had to play one more song for the rest of my life, that'd be it.
Wow. Okay, now I'm going to edit this beautifully. It's all going to come together. Here's an interesting question. At Dinosaur Man Nerdcast asks, in what film is Jeff Goldblum peak sexy Jeff?
Oh, dude. Easy question. Jurassic Park. Come on, man. He has like his shirt all the way down to like his third nipple, and he's just got like that noise that he makes.
Yeah, and he's like lying on the table in that kind of pose.
Pose.
Do you know what, when I read that question, that was the same movie that came to mind, and definitely not Ragnarok.
Well, Ragnarok would have been cool. It's just a little too much makeup for me for Jeff Goldblum. Give me the raw Jeff Goldblum.
Okay, let's do a final question then. Let's get contextual. Asks, what's the best food you've ever had?
All right, so in Parkersburg, West Virginia, there's a pizza place called Shorty's Pizza, and they sell the Manzo Primo. And I'm told that it's won international competition. But it's hands down the best pizza I've had on earth.
So what's on this pizza?
Every type of meat that you could think of. There's like a candied bacon, there's sausage, pepperoni, salami, ground beef. It's all over the place. But they bring it all together, and it's sweet, and it's savory. It's beautiful. And it's greasy as they all get out.
Yeah. Well, see, I used to go for like the very kind of what they would consider to be heavy pizzas. So like, lots of meat, lots of toppings. And when I was in Italy, I used to quite often order one that was just called pesante, which just means heavy. And it just had it just so much
Strict-
meat and stuff on it. But in my the last couple of years I was there, I completely changed and started getting very, very light pizzas. And this one restaurant near where we were living, they did salmon and Philadelphia, and it was amazing. I don't even really like either of those things, but it was just so light, and then because everything was so fresh, the ingredients, that
definitely helps.
Yeah, I think the tomato on it you need to be able to taste real tomato in the sauce,
just straight picked and sliced there. Yeah,
that's the big sign of a good pizza.
That was really the big thing with the Manzo Primo. The ingredients were just it's a little mom and pop shop, so everything's super fresh and well made.
Ah, there you go. It's funny that he's asked this question and your answer has been pizza, because let's get contextual. There's two guys that do a podcast. One of them's been on my other, he's been on this podcast and my other podcast with his wife, and we had a big discussion about whether or not pizza was Italian. And that it was not American. So it's interesting that that's your pick. It's just all synced up lovely. Chase, thank you so much for making time to speak to me. In the last couple of episodes, I've basically changed this podcast into just an excuse for me to talk to people I'd like to talk to. So
awesome.
I'm sorry for the listeners. It's kind of just become a selfish tool that I'm using to talk to different people that I've heard on other podcasts and been like, oh, yeah, I'd quite like to talk to him. And so just tweeting people, and occasionally they say yes, which is great. So thanks a lot for coming on. Where can people find you if they want to follow your competitions and your workouts and everything you're doing?
Yeah, if you want to stay up to date and get pestered with CrossFit stuff, you can find me at Chase504 on Instagram. And then if you want to check out the podcast that I'm on, that's all about CrossFit, in case you really like what you heard here, you can check out SAN Podcast on Instagram as well, and find us on iTunes under Arm & Hammer TV.
Excellent, yeah. And again, all the links will be in the show notes. If you want to get in contact with me, you can do so again on Twitter and Instagram at ACWpod, or email a conversationwithpod@gmail.com. And if you've been listening to all this competition and thinking, I like competitions, but I'm just not sure CrossFit's for me. It's a little bit physical. I prefer a mental game. Well, you're in luck. You can go across to my other podcast, Getting to Know Who. That is a kind of quiz show, game show type thing where I get guests to answer questions about a complete stranger. So links to that will be in the show notes as well. So thanks again for coming on, Chase, and everybody listening. We'll see you all next week.